Hello, welcome back to another episode of Pathways to Success, the podcast where we explore the power of education, learning, and the unique career journey that shape exemplary individuals. In today's episode, we have an amazing person joining us today, and I'm joined by Mohammed, a former student who's currently undertaking a degree apprenticeship in law. This is an alternative route to qualification, allows him to gain professional experience while studying towards his degree. We will discuss his decision to pursue a degree apprenticeship, the process of securing a place, his experiences so far, and the advanced advice he would offer to students. If you are interested in a career in law or in understanding the value of apprenticeships in general, I'm hoping that this conversation will provide some practical insights and guidance. So before we get started, Mohammed, just want to you want to start telling us a bit about yourself and what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Mohammed. I'm going into my second year of my degree apprenticeship. Prior to that, I was a student at Herschel for 7 years. Um, yeah, so I'm doing a solicitor apprenticeship, which is a 6 year apprenticeship in law, by the end of which I'll be a fully qualified solicitor.
Nice. Okay. And what point did you think, or like, you wanted to go into law, but why law in general?
Okay, well, yeah, I was in year 12, not really knowing what I wanted to do, which I feel like most year 12s are like that. So it was near the end of year 12 and university open days were happening. So
Hmm.
I was going to a few of them and I was picking between like accounting. I was into English lit, so I was looking at like comparative literature and I was also looking at law PPE on the side. So I was going to all of these uni open days and one of them, it was at UCL and there was a talk called How to Get Away with Murder. And essentially, it was a uni professor talking through different scenarios in which if you could kill someone, but technically you wouldn't be prosecuted. And she was going through like different precedents that was set in the law and how like legal practitioners rely on precedents set well in the UK to do their work essentially. So from that, I was pretty interested in it because I was thinking like this is a field where the work that you do can have a tangible impact, be referenced by others in the future. And I was like, that's something I want to be a part of. So in the end, I decided on law, mostly because of that talk. I was really interested in that. But other than that, I was interested in English lit, and I know there's a lot of
Hmm.
writing, reading, etc. in law. So it kind of went hand in hand, I think.
Of course, 100%. Would you say like that was a particular moment or like experience in your kind of journey up to that point that might have inspired you to kind of go down this path, or was it something else more than that as well? Potentially, because sometimes people say, "Oh, I wanted to be a lawyer from the day of 1 years old," and it's not always the case at all. So, but like, would you say that was one of the turning points? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say. I was never one of them ones that was like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer
Hmm.
because I like debating. I'm argumentative, them kind of people. I was just like, I was really undecided, and that talk made me kind of set on it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think that makes, I mean, especially when you're having a talk from a professor, for example, and they share an insight, it definitely gives you an understanding of what to expect as well within that kind of career. So I know there's traditionally a lot of people go to university, they go do a degree in law, for example. Many people go on to do other degrees as well, like history or geography, whatever it may be, and then they convert it into a law degree in the future. So there's many routes into obviously law. Why did you choose to pursue a degree apprenticeship instead of like the traditional university route?
Well, first of all, if you go to university, obviously most people have to take out loans. I'm a Muslim, so obviously loans have interest on them. I didn't want to be paying interest on student loans. So that was a big factor for me. Aside from that, the fact that with the degree apprenticeship, I would be working from day one, gaining experience from day one, and building my CV from day one. By the end of it, I'll be in a much better situation than someone who obviously went through a university route where they would only have 2 years of experience when it's time
Mm,
to qualify. Other than that, there was also the salary factor. Like I'm getting paid a salary, I'm able to do things that maybe previously I wouldn't have been able to do. I don't have to rely on my parents anymore. So it was like a combination of all of these things that made
Mm.
me want to pursue a degree apprenticeship.
Absolutely. I think there is a massive misunderstanding about apprenticeships in general. And I think a lot of people are unaware of the space growing on a daily basis. And, things like law wasn't a thing back then. I think many people still think that apprenticeships is to do with the traditional tradesmen's jobs,
Bricklaying and
plumbing,
yeah,
electrician, which is, they're important roles we need in society, and people are doing great things with it, and people make a lot of money as well from it, and they live making a living and doing what they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I know you coming from like a Asian background, and a lot of the South Asian people, they just look down upon
mhm.
it. And I think a lot of it comes down to like education about it, really. So what would you say, like, well, I mean, what did you do in terms of research to decide going down the degree apprenticeship route? Because not many people know about it. So how did you first hear about degree apprenticeships in law, I would say?
Yeah, you're probably gonna roll your eyes at this, but I was scrolling TikTok and there was
Why am I not surprised?
yeah, there was a girl. She was a solicitor apprentice, posting about her experience as an apprentice. She was also South Asian, and how it's impacted her life and how she's really enjoying it. And from that, I found out about the solicitor apprenticeship route, and yeah, and then I would research it from there. I discovered a website or a initiative called City Century. On their website, they had a lot of information about the apprenticeship. I found out how it's gonna work, what kind of like how I'm gonna balance the study, what kind of qualifications I'm gonna get, etc., etc. So yeah, initially I found out about it on TikTok, quite
You know
unconventional.
what's funny? You said obviously TikTok. Like, I think social media, it can have a lot of good in it, and if you use it the right way, I know I can go into a TikTok hole and be in there for hours, and it's not
Yeah,
healthy. But there are some really good content out there, and it's made by people within their industry, and they're sharing like pretty much live, feedback about what they're doing currently and what they did to decide, the journey that they've taken, for instance. And I think it's a good place to go to because you're hearing it firsthand from people that are doing it. So there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I think what I was gonna also ask you is, are there any particular websites other than the other one, there's for 21st century, I think you mentioned?
City Century.
Sorry, Stu. Yeah. So that particular website, what other research would you say you carried out before deciding this was the right choice for you? Were there any particular other websites that might have given you a bit more information?
Not really, other than firm specific pages.
Hmm.
Like, for example, my firm HFW, they had a dedicated page to solicitor apprenticeships where
Yeah.
they go into detail about their program and what they're going to offer us.
Mm.
I know there is some websites that offer information like Apprentigo or
Hmm.
Not Going to Uni. I
Yeah.
never really used any of them
Hmm.
personally, but they are definitely good resources.
Yeah.
There's also on social media is My Launchpad. They have a lot of good information and good like prep things for year 13s trying to apply.
Hmm.
I did use My Launchpad as well, but that was more for prep than research, I would say.
I think in regards to obviously like websites you mentioned, a lot of people there's so many websites out there now,
Mhm.
and I think for anyone listening and wondering, where would I go and look for general apprenticeship applications in general, like you can go onto the .gov website, so apprenticeship.gov.uk, and they have like live vacancies on there from every day. So it gets updated every year, of course. Every single day, there's new apprenticeships being uploaded on there. But many firms, because they're trying to go directly to the firms now, they're offering it as well. So you could go on their website and see if they're offering those opportunities. And I think it's important also for people who are looking into this path, they should also to go and do some work experience themselves, because then they can actually ask the people there directly if that's something they're offering, and then actually get their feet in that way as well. Because we'll go on to obviously talking about how competitive it is as well. So, and we'll kind of go into that actually next, because I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of work involves getting the application through, and then the amount of processes you have to get through, because it's not straightforward. It's like applying for a job ultimately, right? So you have to go through so many different stages and processes involved in the application, from interviews to maybe workshops to doing tests, and you name it. I know every single industry is a bit different, but there is a lot of stages that are similar that's involved, and it's quite full on. And a lot of people might be like, oh, maybe it's just easy to get one, but actually it's not so straightforward. And I'm hoping that you're going to tell us more about it, of course. So can you walk us through how you applied, and how you secured your apprenticeship.
Okay, well, start to finish, I actually did work experience at the firm I work at right
Okay.
now.
Right, right. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so I knew about their vacancy because they spoke about it on the work experience program. Um, so
So
initially,
was this when you were at Herschel you did this?
yeah, October holidays of year 13.
Okay.
I applied in year 12 summer.
And how did you get that? Like, how did you find out about that they were offering this work experience opportunity, or did you just kind of reach out to them?
It was a website called Prime Commitment, which
Okay.
is like it's got a bunch of work experiences from a bunch of different law firms. It's basically for individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have partner firms who offer work experience, and my firm's one of them.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So how long would you say from finding the opportunity, like, did they have set dates when they were offering it, or did it just happen to fall on the half term week, or did you kind of get to choose?
Yeah, so my firm does it every October,
I see.
for the October holidays. Some firms do it in summer, some firms do it for both.
I
It just
suppose it
really
makes sense because a lot of half term they'll be off on students will be off on holidays,
yeah.
and so they can use that time to do things like that. So, no, that sounds great. Yeah. So from that experience, what would you say was your main takeaway from that work experience week that you did?
Yeah, my main takeaway, I would say it definitely well, while the talk at UCL gave me the initial interest wanting to pursue it further,
Hmm.
it definitely consolidated the fact that law is an area I want to pursue career-wise. Yeah, the main takeaway, that's a tough question because it's so long ago. But I
Mm.
would say, I don't know. I
Would you
don't
say
know.
like it gave you a bit more insight at least to understand what a solicitor's firm looks like?
Yeah, definitely.
Ultimately, it gives you like a day-to-day breakdown of what people do, the caseworkers, behind the scenes, how many people are involved. You have people like the solicitors, you have the paralegals, you have the admin staff, and there's so many like layers
Yeah.
to every single the hierarchy in the industry. That would have given you a good insight,
Hmm.
and you probably would have been like, oh, actually, this is something that I can see myself doing, or there's that kind of feeling. And I think that's why it's so important to go out and find placements because it's a great learning point in people's lives, right?
Yeah, off the back of what you said, actually, I would say that one thing that I learned, which was important for me to understand, was that there's more to a law firm than just lawyers. They have obviously people behind the scenes, they have people in marketing, in research, in risk and compliance, for example. And that's like half of the firm, which aren't even the lawyers. So it's important to understand that while the lawyers are the main people bringing in the money. The support staff are the ones that facilitate that. And if you don't understand that when applying, you won't stand out as well as someone who is aware of how a law firm is run.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you initially found out about this opportunity, like, can you walk us through like the process involved before you secured your place? Like, what did you have to go through?
Yeah, okay, sure. So yeah, first of all, it's an initial application. That's the same for most firms.
Was that quite, would you say like quite lengthy, or was that quite easy to do as well? Because some applications can be quite long, and people
Yeah,
get put off by just even starting off with that. Even, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, was that quite lengthy? Would you say it was difficult? Would you say it was okay?
it is quite lengthy. It's about, for most firms, it's like 4 or 5 questions. Um, 250 words each, and obviously you're
Mm,
going to want to tailor each answer to each individual firm. So when you're applying to 10, 20 different firms, it does get a bit much, which is why I recommend you don't apply to that many firms actually. You also have to fill in a work experience section for each firm. So I recommend that everyone fills that section up. Don't leave any blanks. And that's about 4 or 5 different work experiences you have to fill in.
mm,
Again, you need to tailor it to the qualities that firms are looking for. And that's like 250, 300 words limit for each of those sections. So all in all, it's about like 2,000 to 3,000 words per application. So it is a lengthy thing, and you do have to put your all into it. Otherwise, you just simply won't stand out.
mm. Okay. So that's the first part. So they've done, let's say they've done the application. What other stages are involved in between that and then securing the actual role?
Do you want me to say for my firm or for
Yeah,
like
for you, let's talk about your journey because then I think obviously it'll be very different maybe for other firms, but in general, like to get an idea of what you had to do, it'd be nice to hear
yeah.
like how your journey was.
Yeah, okay. So in my second stage, it was straight to a virtual assessment center. Within that, there was three different tasks. It was a written task, um, a critical thinking test known as the Watson Glaser, and also a group task. So that was the next stage, and shortly after that, I was invited to a first round interview, which was with early career staff. So
Was that in
some,
person, this one?
yeah, that was in person in the
Mm,
office.
hmm.
By the way, the office, every time I would go there at the start, it would actually amaze me. I was not used to, like, how bougie it was.
Yeah. Where was it based? The office?
It's in the city of London.
Yeah, so that yeah, they would be nice there, yeah.
Yeah. I was actually like, especially going in for work experience as a year 13, it's, like, a lot to take in because 'cause you're just not used to that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very different environment, isn't it, to what you're
Yeah,
used to? And then you
exactly.
go there, it's very professional. Everything is
Yeah.
like very modern, or especially some of the bigger firms, they do it up really nicely. And so yeah, definitely, I can imagine, you'd be kind of in an environment that you're not used to already, but I'm sure you will get used to it soon.
Yeah, it wears off, I think.
Yeah. So then you had the initial in person thing. How
Mhm.
what happened there then? So like, was there like a lot of other people there as well, or was it just yourself?
No, it was just me there, which was interesting because at other assessment centers, I would have the interview within the assessment center, not afterwards.
Okay.
So it was a bit different at my firm. So yeah, it was just me and two interviewers, and that interview was mainly based around competency questions, like tell me about a time where you did X, tell me about a time where you showed X quality, etc.
Yeah.
So that was the first round interview.
Hmm.
After that, after being successful in that, it was a second round interview, this time with 2 associates. That was more commercial awareness type interview.
Yeah. And then what happened after that? So what you've done now, so like you've had the associates do the interview. Was that like panel interview? Like they just did an interview with you?
Yeah, it was 2
Yeah.
of them and 1 of me, commercial awareness questions, and after that, I got
Were you prepared? Were you given like anything to prepare for it, or just had to be like whatever they could ask you?
well, they told me who my interviewers were gonna be, and they told me that it was gonna be more focused on commercial awareness.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So with those 2 things in mind, I prepared, got the background information on my interviewers, what kind of law they practice, so I could ask them questions about that. Also prepared my commercial awareness, what kind of, sectors the firm practices in, what the main trends are in those areas, so I'd be well prepared to answer the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, what happened after that stage? Was there like more interviews or like anything further?
So that was the final interview,
Okay.
and I was offered after that,
So you
alhamdulillah.
did this during year 13, right? This whole
Yeah,
thing.
during it actually, my first no, my final interview was 1 day before my first economics exam, so it's
Right.
quite a lot to fit in.
Yeah, yeah, because that would have been very stressful time as well. So you
Yeah,
had to kind of prepare for your exams and then that background as well. It's not going to be easy.
yeah.
So then, when did you find out like you're given the placement like or the opportunity
I think I found out, like, the middle of A levels, I would
middle of
like
it?
to say. I had one offer prior to that, which I found out, like, April time, but this
Right.
this one was, like, I would say mid-July.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if I was to kind of break it down in a timeline sort of thing, like what would you say is the time frame it took from the starting point of the actual application to securing the role? How long was that process in total?
I think I'm not sure, but off the top of my head, I applied in November, December time,
Yeah.
and obviously offered in July, so that's 7 months around about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the reason I asked that question is because a lot of people they just think, oh, they can just apply and get it. But again, as you kind of explained, it's not a straightforward process. It takes a long time, and you have to be patient. And it gets so many stages involved to, be even accepted in the first place. So it takes a while. So those people are, wondering, I'm going to apply for a degree apprenticeship. be mindful of the fact that there are so many stages involved and it's a long process, not as straightforward as applying for a university, for instance. So, Mohammed, so that time, so now you go, well, congratulations on securing the role, obviously, in that moment, especially in that moment when you're going through exams and having to prepare for interviews. It would have been really stressful, I can imagine. So, you did really well to achieve that, because juggling between exams and on top of that, preparing for an interview is already stressful as it is. That would have
Yeah.
been really difficult. So, you did really well to, have, worked with that. And in regards to like applying for the degree apprenticeship, did you apply for the normal university route before that? Or were you thinking about it? What was the kind of thinking behind it? Because many people in your kind of stage in their career, they might have no idea what they want to do, or they might be in a position where they knew initially what they wanted to do, but later after year 12 finished, for example, were like in a position where they don't really know what they want to do anymore, either because they didn't, they didn't do well in their exams, or kind of they had a change of heart, whatever it may be. So did you have a backup plan, or what was the other options that you were kind of working with at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I did apply to university and I did have like offers to go, but by the end, yeah, for law I applied. But by the end of it, I was thinking if I'm not gonna get a degree apprenticeship role this year, I'm gonna take a gap year and reapply to degree apprenticeships. Um, so in a sense, I did have a backup, but I wasn't planning on taking it.
And what were the people that are applying for these positions? Would you say like is very competitive for the degree apprenticeships?
But yeah, I would say it's pretty competitive.
Hmm.
Um, it's getting more and more competitive by the year. I
Absolutely.
mean, in my year, I think there was 320 applicants and it was
Wow.
2 places.
Wow. Wow.
And then the next year, it was about 800 apparently applications just for the same
That's
2 places.
crazy. More than
So
doubled.
yeah, it's very, very competitive, and I am very
Yeah.
lucky to have received one.
Yeah. So for your firm, is it two people that you guys, two of you doing it?
Yeah, because my firm is quite new to it, so
Mm.
they're saying 2 per year for now.
Hmm.
If obviously it's successful, they might consider taking on more people, but right now they're keeping 2 people per year as a starting point.
Amazing. So in regards to like you're successful in this process, not for, it's not by chance. You would have had a lot of skills that you would have honed in over the years. So what skills or qualities do you think made you successful in getting this opportunity?
Okay, I would say that resilience is a big factor. Obviously, with such a competitive process, you're bound to get rejected from some firms. So it's about not being disheartened by that, powering through, putting your all into every application, even though you're getting rejected. That is a big factor. Obviously, there's also organization. So when you're applying to firms, you need to know what stage you're at, when they're opening, when they're closing. You need to know what they're looking for. So all of this information you need to have researched and have noted down for each and every single firm in order to be successful. And um aside from that, I don't know if it's a skill or quality, but I would say having the like I don't know the word, or maybe wherewithal to like build your experience when you have the time in year 12 or before that even. Like for example, when I was in year 12, I joined the newspaper team, I started debate society. I did other things I can't remember, but
Yeah. But you're very much involved basically from the beginning, and that helped you during your process, because when you had to recall maybe times when you would have used such certain skills, you would have been able to easily remember it because you've done it.
exactly.
And I think it's a great opportunity. So it's like, I know you did your work experience at a law firm, for instance, but it doesn't necessarily have to be sometimes a law firm. Doing like an
Hmm.
internship in something different, or maybe the work experience in another kind of field, all of those will give you skills that are transferable anyway. So
Yeah,
sometimes, if you're not sure about what you want to go into, you should still do some sort of work experience, I think, just to get a feel of what it's like going into a place of work, number one, and getting to meet people in a professional environment, because it makes you more wiser about that circumstance. And at the same time, you gain so many skills without even realizing. But yeah, absolutely. So I think, like you said, you did so many extracurricular things whilst you were at school, would have helped you throughout the process as
exactly.
well. 100%. Yeah.
And I would say people put a lot of emphasis on getting legal work experience and they think, oh, everyone else has legal work experience. I don't, so I'm not going to get it. But I would say during my experience of applying, even though I had my legal work experience first and for like the first thing on my CV, the interviewers, they never even mentioned it. It sort of took a back seat. They are more interested in my experience in, for example, volunteering or
Yeah.
being a part of the newspaper team, or like
Yeah.
these things that people think aren't important, or
Mm.
like the firm won't care about, are actually the things I spoke about the most in my interviews.
Yeah.
Any experience is good experience, and they understand, like, you're in year 13, you're not gonna
Yeah.
have like a bunch of experience under your belt, and they're not gonna judge you for that. So don't be disheartened by the amount of experience you have, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually going to ask you that as well. Like, were you doing any volunteering and things like that? Because all of that helps as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be work experience directly. You could be volunteering and helping out in a care home for early care. And
Exactly.
that could be an opportunity to gain, skills there. You're helping people, you're showing that you're kind and all the rest of it that you gain from that as well. So absolutely, I think doing any sort of volunteering work experience is beneficial to whatever career path you go down in the future.
Mhm.
So, when you applied for the degree apprenticeship, like, were there any particular subjects requirements you had to meet? Like, sometimes when you apply to university, like they say for law, it's really good to have English. Some people say like, history is really good, or other subjects potentially might be beneficial. Were there anything like that during the application process they made it clear about?
I mean, subject specific, there were no requirements. I mean, for example, I know people that did biochem maths trying to get into medicine, then did a full pivot into a solicitor apprenticeship. But in terms of grade requirements, for my firm, there was a requirement of BBB, which is obviously lower than universities have it at. Um, some firms have it at CCC, some firms have it at AAB. It's really dependent.
Yeah, so that's really good to hear because I think like I had a really interesting conversation on results day this year with a parent and a student currently in year 12 now, and they were deciding between which A levels to do because he wasn't sure whether he wants to do dentistry or law. So then he's end up taking a combination of subjects that will be kind of open up pathways both directions. So I think sometimes parents as well as students, they don't actually understand, like, you don't necessarily have to, for example, do law to study law in university. They think, oh, you have to do law at A level or something like that, for instance, but it's not necessarily the case. Of course, there are subjects that are desirable, like, for example, if you do English language, that'll help you because if you're doing a law degree in the future, you're going to need to write statements, you're going to need to communicate with clients, you're going to need to have meetings and have a panel meeting with the council and what have you. So there's going to be so many elements of that involved. So of course there's going to be skills that you develop in those subjects that will be helpful. But sometimes, like you mentioned, like it wasn't quite strict in that sense. They were quite broad about it, which is nice to hear because I think most students, like for example, like you said, pivot away from something they initially started to plan. And it's good to know that if you decide to do, I don't know, commonly we have people doing biochem and maths is a typical trio, and they might feel like that's medicine or dentistry or veterinary sciences, that's what it shouts. But not necessarily the case. You could do all those skills you learn in those subjects can be taken to other fields and can
Exactly.
apply. Absolutely. Yeah, no, brilliant. That's really helpful. I know, like, working as an apprentice, kind of juggling between work and university can be difficult. So I want to kind of get to know a little bit about what Mohammed's life is like as a law apprentice. So what does a typical week look like for you? Balancing work and study.
Okay, well, I'm in the office 3 days a week.
Hmm.
So normally I'll get up around 7:20, 7:25, get ready, try and be out the door by about 8 o'clock, get the Lizzie line from Burnham into Liverpool Street, get into work for a 9:30 start. Yeah, after that, it's just work, 9:30 to 5:30. So I've been in three different teams so far: marketing, research, and risk and compliance. Right now, I'm in risk and compliance, and the work is like stuff such as looking at legislation to ensure that we're complying with like data retention laws. It can be looking at NDAs, looking at compliance alerts, researching individuals to see if we should be working for them, etc., etc. Yeah. After that, I get the Lizzie line home for 7:30. Most of the time, I don't do my uni work on my work days. I know a lot of people do. They try and use their commutes, etc. But I normally use that time to either like read a book, listen to something, listen to a podcast. Normally, I don't do my uni work on my school days, or sorry, work days.
So how do you
Yeah.
balance that then? So when do you do the uni work, or like do you have to go in one day or anything like that for uni, or how does it work?
Now, so my uni is completely online.
I s-
Some firms have it where you do it in person, but mine is online, I think, so that we're allowed to go on an international secondment. Yeah, so my uni is completely online on a Friday. Balancing it with actual work is a slog kind of thing.
yeah,
You know, you gotta
it's
sometimes
tough.
use yeah, it is. Sometimes you gotta use your weekends to, finish an assignment, finish your reading. But all in all, it's okay, It's not like unless if it's exam period, you don't have to like all the time. Like you'll still have time to go out with your friends. You'll still have time to do the things you want to do. It's not all work kind of thing.
And in terms of like the work environment, how many people do you have in your team, or like how does it work?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been really varied. I've been in a team with just three people.
Hmm.
Aside from myself, I've also been in massive teams. Like, for example, the team I'm in right now must have like at least 20 plus people in it. Yeah, and I'm getting work from all over. So it's not just from my supervisors that I get work. I can get work from anyone in the team that needs help with anything.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's really varied.
yeah. So when you say like you're working with like different teams and what have you, are they like you know how you might not have decided which field you want to specialize into? Like some people go into family law, some people go into corporate law, etc. Like, is that kind of you finding your feet where which field you might be interested in, or is that different?
Yeah, so the way that my apprenticeship is structured, I start out. So we have seats. So a seat is essentially a a period of time where you're in a particular team. So I had a 6 month seat first of all in marketing, which it's not a legal seat. What their rationale behind putting me in marketing, risk and compliance, research, is they want me to understand the operations behind the scenes. So when I'm a lawyer, I'll know what these teams do and how they can help me be the best lawyer I can be. So right now, I've not actually even started a legal seat yet
Oh,
for
okay,
those reasons. But
fine.
my next seat will be a legal seat, and that is because they want us to rotate around the different
Hmm.
teams, and they want us to find an area of the law that we're interested in and that we enjoy in order to eventually qualify there and have a career there.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Great. So I think is that do you have something in mind where you want to go into in the future in terms of specializing, or not
I
yet?
actually have no idea.
Okay.
I don't wanna, have my heart set on something and then
Yeah.
I get into the team and then I realize I don't enjoy it. So I'm trying to, be open-minded about it.
Yeah.
Um, my firm is a sector specialist firm. So the areas I'm likely to
Yeah.
qualify in will be like aerospace,
Right.
insurance, reinsurance, shipping. My firm's like the biggest shipping firm. There's construction.
Mm.
Yeah, those kind of sectors, not
Yeah,
like
I suppose what you get exposed to, you'll get to see what it's like once you
mhm,
do your seats, and you'll be able to decide then like what's right for you. Because I think then you'll
exactly.
know exactly what it involves, isn't it? It's hard to
Mhm.
say right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, how are you finding your experience so far? Like, what's been the most rewarding part? Would you say of this whole experience to date?
The most rewarding part of the experience, I would say it's having the financial means to do stuff I wasn't previously able to. For example, July, I went on holiday to Dubai, enjoyed myself.
Nice. Yeah.
Like before, I would never have been able to do that.
Yeah.
I can buy like the shoes I want, the clothes I want. Like I don't have to worry about it that much, and I can also be saving for my future as well at an early age. So I would say is the financial aspect has been the most rewarding part so
Yeah.
far.
I think that's one of the advantages, isn't it? Because when
Exactly.
you think about it, you go into uni, most people are broke because they don't get any money. Instead, they're paying people money, and then you're in a position where you're earning money, getting a degree at the same time. Like it's a no-brainer in some aspects, right? So yeah, no, that's brilliant. I mean, that's great to hear. Like you'll be able to go on holiday and enjoy yourself at the same time. You're working as well and professional environment, gaining experience and building your kind of a CV at the same time. And what would you say? I mean, it's not easy, I'm sure. So, what would you say was been the most challenging part of this?
The lack of holiday. I mean, while my friends are all on like summer holiday or like whatever holidays they have at uni, I'm still at work, you know.
Yeah,
I get 25 days per year, which is obviously a lot less than what the uni students get. And it's
yeah,
obviously a lot less than what I'd get in school. So it takes some adjusting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
No, of course, of course. I think that is one of the challenges people face in general, apprenticeship versus degree, university route. Because when you're going to university, obviously you're going to get your holidays quite early, break up, and then you have the whole of summer to do things. And then in this, you're kind of working through it through the whole of summer. But you got to look at it from the positive end. You're making money, right? You got to follow the
Yeah.
money. So yeah, I mean, it's good that you kind of highlighted that because I think that's important for people to know as well. Because I'm not expecting you to say how much you obviously earn and stuff like that because I don't think you should. But like in general, like if somebody was applying for a degree apprenticeship in general any field, do you know roughly like what the kind of stipend amount they get?
Yeah, I mean, starting salaries are going up, but for the most part, starting salary is about 2K.
Hmm.
The highest I've seen for a solicitor apprenticeship is 2K.
Yeah,
That increases every year, um, around 2 to 3,000 pounds every year will increase. Some firms increase by a larger margin, obviously.
yeah, yeah.
Ballpark is around about that.
Fine. I think that's a really healthy amount if you think about it for the age you're doing it at as well,
Mhm.
because that's a lot of money for you're young and you can do so. You can go a long way, and when
Yeah.
still haven't got any other commitments, let's say. I mean, it might be different for everyone, of course, but generally speaking. But would you say like what would be the roughly time frame for the whole process to finish? Like, is it 3 years, 4 years? What is it?
Yeah, so the first 4 years it's 6 years long
Yeah.
overall. The
Okay.
first sorry?
Yeah. Sorry. Carry on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. First 4 years is a degree, it's like classic law degree, LLB.
Hmm.
Normally, that takes 3 years, but obviously, because we only have 1 day a week for study, they made it 4. The last 2 years is solicitors qualifying exams. So those are, like, 2 exams that you need to qualify.
Are they like the typical exams that you sit when you're in for your exams? Are like that? Like you have exam sitting, you have to go in and sit. Is it like that, or is it done online, or how is it? Is it all coursework based, or how is it?
I was actually very surprised by this as well. The exams, have been all online so far. One of them has been an oral exam where there's an examiner, but it's still online.
Yeah.
I think the SQEs, in the last 2 years will be in person.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah, great. So about 6 years, you're coming out as a lawyer, and then along the way, you would have gained, tremendous amount of experience that other people wouldn't have had, which is phenomenal. I know when you go into doing something, you always have a sort of in your head what it might be like. So, how is apprenticeship different from what you imagined before starting? Would you say, or is it the same as you expected it?
I would say for the most part, it is what I expected. Actually, the work environment has been a lot nicer than I expected. I always bring up the story. I was in my first week. I was in a marketing team. I was just finishing off some work. Like 10 minutes after I was meant to be like after my contracted hours, 5:40, and I get a Teams message from my supervisor saying, "Why are you working? Get offline." So that was a lot different to what I expected because I expected law firm, long hours. They're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
make you work. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's a good thing. I'm surprised actually. I mean, it's good to hear that because a lot of people they're overworked a lot of the time, or they're kind of like having to meet tight deadlines and they're having to work over hours and what have you. So that's actually nice to hear because you need a life balance in order to
Mhm,
enjoy something. So yeah, no, that's really refreshing to hear. Brilliant. Yeah, good. So, what I would say is, the other thing that I want to kind of delve into is like advice and insights from your experience to date, how that could be, everyone learns from other people. And like you said, when you started initially researching, you saw a TikTok video and that helped you to kind of get a bit more idea about it. So, what advice would you give to your younger self when you were first exploring your options?
mhm. I mean, I've said this before. There's obviously the aspect of not being disheartened by rejection. I would also say stick to like 5 to 10 firms to apply to. I applied to like quite a few firms, more than I would recommend now with the experience. But I would say that because you need to tailor every application realistically, and you need it to be very, very specific to each firm, highly researched, showing your interest in them, etc., etc. And if you apply to like 20, 30 firms, you won't be able to do that with the level of detail people who have applied to less firms have done. So I would advise myself to really research the firms that you want to apply to before applying. So, like, have your non-negotiables. Like, for example, do you want a firm that does a lot of pro bono work, a lot of charity work? Do you want a firm that pays a lot, for example? Do you want a firm that has a good culture? Do you want a firm that has good quality work? So have those non-negotiables, and from there, pick 5 to 10 firms you want to apply to, and stick to them and put your all into every single one of the applications. I would say that is one mistake I made. Yeah, other than that, I would say it sounds really generic, but be yourself. That's a piece of advice I got after my first like major rejection after an assessment center. Someone who actually got offered told me, like, be yourself, build rapport with the interviewers. Because I was under the impression that I need to, like, code switch and be like some professional person, that like the model lawyer kind of individual, and not show any personality whatsoever. But that's not true whatsoever. Like, at the end of the day, the interviewers are looking for a person that they can see themselves working with,
Yeah.
someone that they see has, because a big part of being a lawyer is actually social skills, like building rapport with clients, etc. So if they see you as just some like one trick person who can only think about the work and not have anything more to them, you're less likely to get the offer. So actually showing personality, being yourself is a big thing.
Mm.
That is likely to get you an offer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of covered this really well, actually, that question, because that's really important. But if you were to summarize, like, what would be the tips that you'd give to students who are currently interested in finding a degree apprenticeship, especially in law, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, what everything I just said,
Mm.
um, other than that, speak to people, speak to, for example, apprentices, on LinkedIn, ask them questions, ask them about things you're unsure about. I would also recommend that build your experience, build it in year 12, build it if you can in year 13. Just have a wide array of things to pull from, because that will help you in your interview. Because some of the questions are really niche, but if you have a lot of experience and a lot of things under your belt, you'll undoubtedly have experienced the scenarios they're bringing up. So make sure you build your experience. I would
Yeah.
also say prepare well, prepare a lot for your interviews. Some of the questions, like for mostly competency questions, where they're asking you, tell me about a time where you did this. Those are questions you can easily prepare for and easily know how, like, know examples for them. So if you prepare for them and have good answers for each and every single one of them, you're in much better stead to get an offer.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I did well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I think that is true because one of the, a couple of things you mentioned earlier as well about being yourself is really important. Sometimes we overthink things and overcomplicate it, and then it becomes a really stressful situation that you don't need to be in. And obviously, like you mentioned as well, preparing for some questions ahead helps to kind of ease your nerves, I guess, when you're doing the actual thing. I know that we spoke about how the space for degree apprenticeships and general apprenticeships are changing is significant in a good way. Do you feel that degree apprenticeships are becoming more respected as an alternative to university?
I think it depends who you speak to. Obviously, you touched on like South Asian background, the aunties and uncles, they always give you that look like, oh, apprenticeship.
Yeah,
To be honest, I don't care about that, because I know what I'm doing is a lot better route than traditional university. But yeah, I said depending on who you speak to, because all of the lawyers pretty much that I've spoken to about my route and the difference between university, which is most for the most part what they did, they've all said to me like, if I had that opportunity when I was your age, I would have done it, no brainer.
yeah,
So I think that in a professional setting, you're definitely not viewed as a lesser candidate just because you're doing the apprenticeship. If anything, they respect you more, because they know how competitive it is, and they also will see that you have a lot more experience than the trainees. Actually, Early Careers told me the other week, so there was people coming in for vacation scheme interviews, which is basically people trying to get a training contract, have those interviews. And the partners were disappointed about the quality of some of the interviews, and they said that the apprentices interview better than them. So
Wow, that says a
actually,
lot.
yeah, I don't think that, in a professional setting it's viewed as any lesser than any other route.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. No, on the point that you mentioned about how, it depends on who you speak to. But I do think like a lot more people need to know about it, and like especially parents who are helping young people making these decisions together sometimes can come in the way and be like, oh, no, 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 that's not the right one to, like, right thing to do. You only have to do degree. That's the only thing you're doing because we've all done degrees in our lives, and apprenticeship is no good. So we need more, people to be educated on it and inform them about it so then they can make informed decisions, because I think it's important to understand, like you said, a lot of the people that you work with said if this opportunity came out their way, they would have taken it, without without a shadow of a doubt, like no brainer, like I think you said. So like it's true. And I think a lot of people need to be more aware of what it is because they actually don't know. And that's the ignorance, I think, is the case here. So we need to do more of that. So we try to do a lot of that now, try to, involve more parents in making those decisions. So, students can make those right decisions for themselves without feeling too much pressure. No, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Mohammed. I think that's really good way to kind of answer that question the way you did it. So where do you hope to be by the time you complete your apprenticeship?
Yeah, I would hope that I've secured a newly qualified role at the firm I'm working at in an area that I'm interested. I would hope that through my seat rotations, I've found an area that I'm interested in, that I enjoy, and a team that I want to work with and work in.
Hmm.
That's my main hope. Other than that, I hope that I've saved a considerable amount of money and not just blown it all on holidays and stuff like that. I also hope that I said I hope that I've qualified into a team. I hope that I actually pass my exams and qualify. But yeah, those are my main three
You will. I
hopes.
think you're a dedicated person and you've worked hard to get to where you are. You're not gonna just let it slip, and I know you're gonna put your work in when you need to get through those exams. Definitely, it's not gonna be easy ride, juggling between work and study, but you'll get through it. And I wish you always all the best with that. Now going on to like the final kind of segment. And I think you've been really great with a lot of the information you've shared, and I'm hoping a lot of people will find this really useful. What would you say is the biggest myth about law apprenticeships that you'd like to bust? Let's say, are there anything in
The
particular?
biggest myth for parents especially, I think they think that it's an easy route or it's something that we've spoken about it, that it's a lesser alternative than university. That's not the case at all. There's also the myth that apprentices don't have a social life. I hear that one a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. How would you answer that actually? Because I've had that before. Like, oh no, no, I want to go to university because I want to have the uni life. I want to have the nightlife. This, no, you name it. Like I'm gonna miss out on that if I do it in an apprenticeship. Yeah. So yeah, let's hear it from you. Actually, somebody who's doing it. Yeah.
Look, I would say that if you want to go to uni and be partying every day, etc., have that nightlife, then yeah, don't pick an apprenticeship because obviously you are gonna be working Monday to Friday or your study day and 4 days at work. So obviously those days you can't go out. But the weekends you can definitely socialize, do what you want, and also a lot of the time after work, I actually socialize with apprentices across the city. And because you're in London, well, for me, I'm in London. I actually get to go out with my friends in the city a lot after
Yeah.
work, go for lunch, go for dinner, enjoy myself. Sometimes we go bowling, sometimes there's in London there's so many things to
Things.
do.
Yeah.
Like I think people saying that you don't have a social life whatsoever as an apprentice, that's not true at all. Like if you want to have a social life, there's definitely opportunities. There's networks you can join, people you can interact with.
Mm,
And also you have the financial capability to enjoy yourself
yeah.
and do
Absolutely.
activities as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely, definitely. And I think, like you said, like you were able to go to Dubai and things like that, which other circumstances you wouldn't be able to. That's living life in a different way, in a much better way than going out every night. But In terms of like obviously, I was speaking to a group of apprentices that are working at Cisco, the IT company, and they had like what they do is they recruit in a big number, so they have
Mhm.
like X number of them joining, like between 10, 15 of them in one go, in kind of the cohort they have, and so they create like a university kind of environment for themselves because they're all of the same kind of age and mindset, and so they even though they're not doing a university degree or anything like that, but they have their group of like friends that they would have potentially would have had maybe when they're going to university. So a lot of places are now kind of creating that environment
Mhm.
where the apprentices don't feel like they're missing out kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I
and that's
think yeah,
definitely something I've seen, like, in firms who hire bigger cohorts. They kinda become like your uni year kinda thing.
yeah.
And also, because you're all in such I mean, speaking for London, you're in such close proximity to each other. Not me personally, but I've seen other apprentices, they go out for drinks, for example, every Thursday, or sometimes I've seen them, they go clubbing, they do this, they do that. So, like, there is definitely opportunities to do that if you want to.
Mm, absolutely. No, that's great. And I mean, obviously, a lot of young people, not even just young people, sometimes even people that are already working in the industry and stuff like that, it's difficult sometimes to make a decision that's gonna, take them. I mean, they might not be enjoying what they're doing, let's say. But specifically, I want to focus on like young people who are unsure about their next steps, let's say. So in general, so one piece of advice that you would give to anyone listening who's unsure about their next steps, wherever they may be in their life.
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to take a gap year and figure things out for yourself. Unis don't look down on anyone who's taken a gap year. Apprenticeships don't look down on anyone who's done that either. So if you're undecided, don't be afraid to do that. I would also say, go to university open days, look at what kind of things you're going to be studying in the degrees. Attend insight days to different firms as well. A lot of firms have insight days where you can get a glimpse into what kind of stuff they do, what kind of stuff you'll be doing on their apprenticeship program. So these are all things you can be attending for every kind of sector, and from that you could figure out what you're interested in and what you want to do in future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the times, a lot of people are afraid of taking a gap year. So like sometimes they do their, finish their A levels in 13, and might not achieve the grades they would have hoped for, and they have to kind of look at the backup options, and then all of a sudden they kind of
Mhm.
panic, be like, oh no, that's not what I expected, and now I might need to take a gap year. Does that mean I've failed in life? And I think one thing I want to share and echo what you said. I think there's everybody's journey in life is different, and we're all in different places. Sometimes things don't happen for a reason and doesn't make sense in that moment. But later on, when things add up and kind of comes together, there's always a greater good in what happens. And I think it's important to like understand that in the moment, of course, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be quite, it's a crazy moment because you just felt like it's going to all happen and things like that. And it would be a very difficult position to be in. But in the end, it all works out. So I think always be a positive in the circumstance you're in and just look for options because there are so many options now available, and so there is always going to be something or another you can fall back on. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. We are kind of getting towards the closing. I don't want to take up too long because like I said to you earlier at the beginning, like sometimes when it gets too long people lose interest, but I think this has been so interesting. I'm sure people will be listening all the way through. In terms of from the actual whole experience of this low degree apprenticeship so far, what's one thing you've learned during your apprenticeship that you didn't expect?
One thing that I learned that I didn't expect, I would say the fact that I mean, I've touched on this as well, but what goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, I was in marketing at first. I didn't realize that obviously the lawyers do legal work for clients, but I wasn't aware of the process behind actually winning that work and how there's processes in place, whole teams in place in order to win work for the lawyers. It's not just like a client refers work to you. There's actually so many things behind the scenes that go on to actually be able to get work. Um, so that's one thing that I didn't expect to learn. I didn't know beforehand, which I probably should have known. Yeah, I mean, there's bids, there's pitches, there's
Yeah.
handles a whole host of
I think
things.
there's so much, isn't it? There's so much going on, and you get to see all of it, and from back from the kind of inside person kind of thing. So, in regards to like final closing words, like is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners that you think we might have missed?
No, I actually think that was a comprehensive set of questions. I mean, there's not really much I can add. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking when you said about, "Oh, don't be afraid to take a gap year." I mean, I've had friends that they didn't achieve the grades that they needed to go to university. They've taken a gap year, retaken the A levels, gotten a lot better in the A levels, and ended up at the firm, or not the firms, the universities that they wanted to be at. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think a lot of people are scared to do that. They think they won't get into anywhere, but actually, a lot of the time, you can get into somewhere a lot better than you would have done if you were just to go through, for example, clearing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's been really insightful, Mohammed. And like, are there any places where people can reach out to you if they maybe have a question? Do you have any socials or any places where they can send you a message, or you like to share your kind of contacts?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find me is on LinkedIn. My name's Mohammed Malik. I work at HFW. If you put that in, you should
Okay.
be able to find me.
Yeah.
If I see that you're at Herschel, I'll definitely accept your connection, answer your questions. So yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll put all of the details in the description so that people can find you easily and reach out to you, because I think you're probably the best person to speak to, because you've gone through it all. Sometimes students can be a bit anxious about what they want to do, and they find it easier to relate to somebody who's just recently gone through it. So I hope it's okay, because I know you're busy, but if they reach out to you, you can respond when you're available, basically. And
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it might take me a week or 2 to respond, but I do try and respond to everyone, so
I
yeah.
think this is important as well, for them to understand as well. Like when we do work experience and things like that at school, let's say you email professionals and people of different in different industries, and you don't get a response back straight away. You're like, oh, why haven't they responded to me? But they're busy people, and they need to understand that. And so likewise, you're busy. So if you do reach out to him, I'm sure Mohammed will respond to you, but you just have to be patient. Brilliant. Yeah. So thank you, Mohammed. I just want to kind of close now, because I know you've got a lot of things you got to do as well. And so you've given up a lot of your time. So I really appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you to Mohammed for sharing his journey and valuable perspectives on pursuing a law degree apprenticeship. His experiences and highlights on the importance of research, preparation, and resilience when seeking an alternative routes into professional careers. And we hope that today's discussion has offered useful guidance for those considering a similar pathway. For more conversations, exploring career developments and educational choices, please do share, like, and subscribe to Pathways to Success with Ali. And I just want to say thank you to all our listeners for listening. And we look forward to welcoming you to our next episode. So thank you.